Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going, Tibet?
All right, all right. Busy,
Uh,
busy.
you got the double cams going on there, huh?
Different
uh,
angles.
yeah, cool. Um, yeah, how you checking in? How's your day going?
Um, it's okay. Been a bit of a roller coaster, or just full. A little stressful.
Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, no, I feel you. Are you doing anything for Easter weekend? Are you trying to wrap up for Easter weekend, or um, just kind of
Um,
working through it?
Not particularly. Uh, yeah, I mean, life right now is almost all wedding planning.
Yeah.
So got 6 weeks left.
Yeah, so that's probably most of the stress then, right? Is it the
Yeah,
wedding or
yeah, I would say
okay?
so. Yeah,
Okay. Mixed with work, but mostly probably the wedding.
yeah.
Uh, it seemed like, I don't know if it's like this for you, but I've heard this from other friends as well. And it was definitely the case for us. It seemed like everything started to like converge, or just like things started coming up in twos and threes, and lots of pairs of like challenging things right before our wedding. Um, so I'm hoping you all the best for it, because that seems to happen sometimes when you're doing something big. A lot of other big things come up as well. So I wish you all the best.
Yeah. Yeah, thank
So
you. How you doing?
so yeah, um, I'm doing okay. Uh, been I'm a little sweaty, a little messy. I was grinding all day and had a few calls, and then realized that I hadn't even got out of my chair for most of the day. And so I decided to go out and go for a rollerblade for a little bit and came back. So I'm kind of calming my heart rate down and chilling. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Cool.
So today, I'd like to just kind of have like a normal conversation, but we're going to record it and post it over to the Coherence 2025. And when I say normal, just like how can we be as open and creative as possible, and kind of uh, just chatting in such a way, like what would the possibilities be of different collaborations, and be very open to maybe what those could be, and just have a conversation around it, really, between work that you're doing with the collaborative tech alliance and Hylo, and many other things that you're working on, um, and then sharing more into, I mean, I've shared a little bit of what we're working on, but I think it's kind of pivoted as well, or at least um, we've put more of a hold on some of the tech things, realizing just how many people are already building things and wanting to build with people rather than recreating the wheel. So we're trying to really figure out what is the best couple features that we can build in that would really resonate with other platforms and even be able to connect to other platforms. And I think we're trying to figure it out, but it really is based on more the kind of organizing and kind of people side of things, and governance side of group ecosystems. Um, so we could dive into it more, and I'd like to kind of do it in that recording fashion, so we can post it to Coherence and then have others kind of see, um, what you guys are doing and what you're doing and what we're doing, but then kind of see ways that we're trying to collaborate and see if they also want to join in on that conversation, because people from the that are co-stewarding um, the Coherence also would be watching this, but we're also sharing this with pretty much everybody that we would hope to or want to bring into kind of a collaborative technology ecosystem. Yeah, so that's really what Coherence is all about. And then, yeah, we're kind of working at the same time on ways that we can collaborate and building a relationship together that way. So how's that sound? Any feedback or thoughts on that?
Sounds great. Yeah. I didn't really like prepare that much, but I'm assuming just share what's true, and that'll be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not too much to prepare in a conversation like that, right?
Yeah.
We just have a good conversation. Kind of format though, they're loose format. I'll start off just by sharing more about Coherence and about what we're kind of doing, so people kind of can get a sense there. And then we'll go into what you're doing, ask a few questions, clarify, kind of get a sense of what you're doing in the space, and then I'll share a little bit, and then we'll dive more into some of the creative collaboration possibilities, just kind of keeping it, it's not like we're going to get into some collaborative project right away from this conversation. By any means, we're just seeing the possibilities out there and letting others see what possibilities can be in collaborating together. So,
Awesome.
and then we can go from there. Ready? Should we just go for it?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, Tibet, it's a pleasure to have you in the Coherence 2025 as a project, and maybe having you as a co-stewarding some things. We had talked a little bit about possibly doing a collaborative meeting with the Collaborative Tech Alliance, the CTA, and Coherence 2025. Would love to explore some of that in this conversation as well. To give the audience that's listening to this conversation, it truly is a conversation between the two of us, just trying to work out ways that we can collaborate between organizations, the organizations that you're involved in, the work that we're doing. So Coherence is a asynchronous conference, I guess you could say it like that. We're doing this for around 6 months roughly, and we're just having really open conversations between others in the regenerative realm that are working on some type of technology basis that's helping us to collaborate with one another as a collective ecosystem of regenerative businesses or regenerative projects. That's really what Coherence 2025 is about. There's people that are working in kind of the Web3 areas. There's people that are working in kind of AI, and there's people that are working on lots of people that are building platforms such as Hylo and other projects that are out there. So I kind of giving you a sense there. Do you have any questions, Tibet? Because you're coming in as a project with us, and you're sharing your project with us and seeing ways that you can kind of find collaboration. Do you have any questions about what Coherence is, or what do you feel like it is based upon what you've seen so far and I've shared with you?
Well, first question, I just want to double check. It doesn't look like we're recording. Did you want to be recording already?
Oh, yes. And I thought we were, but where did just going to do it off of Fathom, and I thought Fathom was in the room.
Fathom's in the room, but it doesn't say it's recording the video. So I just want to double check.
It's weird because it's saying it's recording, but
Okay.
it's also not saying it's like I never got a recording notification.
Yeah.
And I don't see a recording in another space. But like Fathom's up and it's saying it's recording. So
that might just be recording the audio and text.
Yeah, it's true. How do let's see. I can also just record to this computer. Let's do that.
This meeting is being recorded.
My Zoom recording box is full, and so I usually don't want it to take up bandwidth on me, so I usually record to that or the cloud. Okay, so now we're recording. Thanks for checking in with that. Okay, so yeah, let's rewind. We'll kind of start with the kind of welcome. Thanks, Tibet, for joining us. We have this is Coherence 2025, and it's an asynchronous conference for the collaborative tech movement within the regenerative realm. So anybody that's moving the regenerative or building towards regenerative outcomes through the kind of technology pieces around building platforms, AI, Web3, those kind of arenas, and even outside of that, we're kind of really flexible on what that really exists. And so I've shared a couple things with you, Tibet, on what the Coherence 2025 is all about, but I'd love to kind of get from your words why you're kind of coming in to join us as a project within Coherence 2025, and just get a better idea of what you would hope to get from this asynchronous conference that we're going to be running for the next 6 months, kind of sharing on each other's projects and seeing ways that we could possibly collaborate.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me. Glad to be a part of this weaving. I mean, to some degree, I would say Coherence 2025 is still a little bit of a mystery to me, but an exciting one. I mean, I call myself a communitarian technologist and a community weaver, and I'm involved in many different projects and groups, collectives, organizations that are all kind of working on some of the things you just mentioned. How do we sort of do business in a regenerative way? How do we change the way that we work and have our work interact with kind of the planet and the global ecosystem of both the earth and the people in a healthy way? And specifically with a focus on technology and kind of regenerative technology, you could say. And so I'm always looking for ways to weave and connect with other aligned folks and folks working on similar things. I mean, especially through the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which I co-steward. That's the whole point of it, is to kind of try and weave together people who are working on social technologies in a regenerative way, or oriented towards the well-being of people and planet. So excited to connect with you more and with this ecosystem. And I do see that the way that Coherence 2025 is being structured is kind of unique in it being this long-term, asynchronous, kind of continuously ongoing and emergent event, which I think is cool, right? It's like there's these videos, there's going to be different, I'm sure, like nodes of coming together and specific gatherings, but a lot of just continuously putting out feelers and content and ways to find the others who are in this space. So I'm excited that you're doing this and excited to be a part of it and see what comes of it.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to bring you into the conversation and the projects that you're working on, like the Hylo. I've been really excited to play around with Hylo. I've been watching Hylo for a really long time, and now I feel like it's like time for me to like really dive in with my organization and to really dive in with helping other organizations that are doing regenerative work to recognize Hylo for what you've created and the work that's been done there to build a place for regenerative collaboration and community. And so I would love to know more about Hylo. And then also on the side of that, it's like you're doing a lot of other collaborative work that is kind of meshing and weaving the work within the community. And I would love to hear more about the Collaborative Tech Alliance, what's been coming out of that. And then, yeah, I'll share a little bit more about what we're doing at Seeds DAO and within the RegenBEE community and how I like to interface with the work that you're doing. But first, yeah, let's maybe start there. I'll share a little bit, And then for the listeners, the conversation for these is really to be extremely conversational. Just like how would we come together and just have those early conversations to get to know each other, and also to really find creative ways to build interoperability, or even come into collaboration and doing work together. So with that, I'll kind of leave it on your side. Like, what's Hylo up to? I know you just had a new release. I've been playing around with that, so maybe you want to start there, or start wherever on the project, but kind of give us a sense of where Hylo's at, and what you're doing, and where your vision is at this point.
Do you want me to give some of the history, or kind of start with right now and what's happening now?
You can start with history, whatever you feel would be good. I think a little bit of history for those who don't know Hylo would be good as well.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just going to start with a very brief history of myself and like how the sort of path that brought me to all this, because it feels like there's a lot of threads that connect.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned I call myself a communitarian technologist. I've been software developer and entrepreneur my whole life, basically, and also very community driven, and also like, yeah, thinking about not only how do we bring people together, but how do we shift culture towards kind of living well on the planet, living in healthy ways for, yeah, my whole life. And went through, studied computer science, did a number of startups, moved out to the Bay Area and kind of was a part of the VC startup world, worked in the solar industry for many years, and kind of kept seeing one way or another the traditional models end up destroying the work that I was trying to do, the good work I was trying to do in the world, or things would get acquired and then shut down, or just run out of money because of the like growth imperative and the returns expected by VCs. And so in 2017, I started the Terran Collective with some very close friends, as the kind of container to work within, where we could experiment with different models of ownership and governance and funding, and protect our work from the powers that be, and like work in an environment where we could bring our whole selves and kind of be in a true collective cooperative environment. And so that's still the container that I work in, with a small, amazing group of close friends and collaborators. And we've been experimenting with different, specifically our main projects have been systems and tools that enable greater collaboration and cooperation and coordination. And so we worked in the DAO space, early DAO space, for a while. We worked on a needs and offers platform for a while. And then in 2020, end of 2019, early 2020, a friend of ours who founded Hylo back in maybe 2015 or something, Ed West, came to us, and Hylo had been created as like a community platform kind of before the wave of platforms we have today, with Mighty Networks and Slack and Discord. It was like in those really early days. And it was also had a slightly different vision of networks of communities that could collaborate with each other and be connected to each other. But they raised VC and built a great platform, and then kind of ran out of steam, weren't able to raise their next round in the traditional game. And through a fortuitous set of arrangements, it was sort of acquired by Holochain, a really interesting peer-to-peer software architecture project. And then the code and the sort of platform of Hylo was then gifted to the Terran Collective. And so we, in 2020, fully open sourced it and started running it as a nonprofit, and really thinking about, yeah, how can this become a public good, or a technology commons? We think of it as wanting to become really a platform built for and by the people it's serving, and without that kind of growth and exit drive from VC funding, and really, like, how can we design healthy social platforms that are, don't have the models that we see in most of the platforms we use today, that are very extractive, of course, profit oriented, and that results in all kinds of unhealthy patterns of, addiction, polarization, misinformation, or even just in the case of like a Mighty Networks, which is, not maybe as insidious, but it's still profit oriented and focused on making money for creators, making money for group leaders. Hylo has a very different orientation, which is how can we help groups coordinate better and collaborate to do impactful work in the world? And how can we help them become more pro-social, more cooperative as they use the platform? So we call it this a pro-social coordination platform for purpose-driven groups. So that's a really important part of our focus of the design, is like increasing cooperation, increasing pro-social behavior as people use the platform, not getting people addicted to another platform. The point is not to use the technology. The point is to be out in the world doing good things, building community. And then we also, and this speaks a little bit to the longer term vision, we also are very passionate about place-based organizing, local organizing and bioregional organizing as a particular frame. So how do we, come together with the people of a shared landscape, the people we live near, our neighbors, and make, kind of decentralized decisions about using our resources, sharing water, growing food, organizing in all kinds of different ways, in regenerative ways, resilient ways that our climate changes. So yeah, that's a really big part of the future, and something we're going to be focusing a lot more on the second half of this year is the bioregional coordination tools. But we also realized that, like, to succeed in having this alternative platform, the foundation of solid, just simple communication tools, the things people expect in other platforms, all need to be there. And so we've been still focusing on just like nailing that simple core user experience of communication and building your group and connecting with other people. So that's a summary of kind of the journey and Hylo and where it's at.
Yeah, that's great. And I've been playing around because we're trying to start a new group. Well, I'm trying to move my community that has been on Kajabi, actually, because we started out as more of an education MOOC platform with Seeds of DAO, and then we built kind of neighboring partnerships with other content creators and professionals that are helping regenerative businesses. And so I built this community on like Kajabi communities, and it's been really frustrating, actually, because there's been a lot to be desired. I've thought about switching over to Mighty Networks. I've thought about moving over to, well, we started off in Slack is where we started, and then we moved into Kajabi, and I thought about going back to Slack or going into another platform to make this what I was hoping work for our community and really do the things that we were trying to work on, make it less about the platform that we were building on and more about the work that we were doing, right? And I love how you kind of summarize that we're not trying to make another platform that is profit driven, that is meant for people to really focus in on spending more time on the platform, but really to enjoy the work that we're doing together and pro-social pieces of what I feel like social media should have been in the first place, right? Or maybe what it was intended for. I don't know that it had any intention, to be honest. That's maybe why it has suffered in a lot of ways. But one thing that's come up that's really kind of convinced me that Hylo is a great platform for especially those that are building groups and communities within the regenerative realms. And now that you're moving towards bioregional stuff, I think this really helps to kind of solidify why a lot of folks should be considering Hylo. One is you guys plan on being for profit for the indefinite future, right? At least keeping it in that realm. And so I would love to hear maybe just a question for you, because that was something that really kind of piqued my interest. Is like I was thinking about moving over to Mighty Networks, but I was also looking at some other platforms that I'm seeing within the regenerative space coming up. Won't name names or whatnot, but they are more profit driven. And so I was seeing the potential conflict if we're trying to build towards kind of these pro-social dynamics. So I'm curious. The question is like how are you imagining kind of the future of Hylo as it grows as a community? to be funded and generates the ability for that long-term sustainability and regenerative outcome for Hylo.
Yeah, I mean, definitely needs a business model, right? Like having a business model is not a bad thing. It's important. We have to create something that is actually sustainable. I think the problem is when the focus is on how much money can be made, how much excess money, profit, and especially for investors. If you're just orienting towards making, 10x for investors, then you're not actually trying to create a product that's doing good in the world. You're trying to figure out how to extract as much money as possible. We do have a lot of business model ideas, some of which are a little bit implemented. I mean, people pay us for kind of support in onboarding their communities, for sort of priority and extra support in just using the platform. Donations, of course, is a way that we make money. We do have some recurring donors and bigger philanthropists as well. And then we are going to be actually this year starting to add the ability to have financial transactions flow across the platform. So having groups that have memberships or courses that have that have a fee, potentially event ticketing or other things like that. We could take a small cut of those transactions. That's another business model. And we might eventually add certain features that are kind of power user features, especially ones that cost us money, that we would charge for. I mean, right now, for example, we're hosting everyone's images and attachments that they upload for free, but I could see, having a certain amount of free storage we offer, and then if you need to store videos or have lots of images in your groups, having some fee for that. So there's a lot of business models we're considering, and we need to grow more before it even will matter that much. So we're not been focusing on building out those features yet. White labeling is another thing that a lot of people want that we're kind of on the fence about, but potentially offering, for fee, like a much more customizable structure for your group. Things like that. And I mean, just to kind of like pivot to something you were mentioning is all the other platforms that are out there. We also want to partner with as many other platforms as possible and be in collaboration and work on interoperability. So, I think all of us would say that, on a certain level, of course, we have attachment to Hylo. We've been working on it a lot, but we're also not in some ways attached to Hylo. We're attached to the vision. We just believe that these alternative social coordination tools and platforms are necessary. And we want them to exist. And so far, Hylo has seemed like the best existing platform and opportunity to work on this. And we also think that there needs to be a diversity of experiments and models and user interfaces. And so as much as possible, we can create interoperable protocols, data schemas, ways that we can just work with other platforms. That's definitely a big part of our long-term goal. And we've started to work on that some.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, I think that segues a little bit into some of the work that we're doing and how we can start to maybe collaborate within the work that we're doing together. So yeah, I mentioned that we're trying to transfer over this community from Kajabi over to Hylo at this moment. It was one of the conversations that kind of sparked why I really wanted to reach out to you and talk to you more about Hylo and even just kind of building interoperability. We have, so the community that we're building is called the Regenerative Business Economics Ecosystem, or Regenerative Bioregional Economics Ecosystem. You can say either. We're kind of keeping it both at this moment and want to keep it open to really what does economic development and growth look like in a regenerative lens, and making sure that we know that bioregionalism is going to be a huge piece of that as we move forward in the future of like trying to build regenerative economies, very much anchored in place, right? In place-based work. And so for us, we've been working on, we started off actually on a tech, well, we've pivoted several times actually, but we started building towards an education platform that then realized that we were needing more like connective tissue between organizations to collaborate with one another within the regenerative ecosystem to build business. So the education platform that we were building was for regenerative businesses to grow their businesses, right? And having different educational material in there around governance, around how do you regeneratively market and grow your business, when, how to organize your business, but, finance and funding of your business, those types of realms that we were kind of working in. And as my organization, Seeds of DAO, started to realize that we were building towards more community-driven work of like the work that is being regenerative business is usually collaborative. We went into partnering and collaborating with other businesses and realized that we were actually, what we were really building was an association for the regenerative business movement. And that's where RegenBEE kind of came into life and creation, was how the question and curiosity and kind of the hypothesis that we had was, would a ecosystem, could we show like how natural ecosystems cooperate and share resources and manage, help one another somehow while competing with one another? There's healthy competition and there's healthy cooperation within a healthy ecosystem. Could we pattern from a natural ecosystem the new regenerative economies? And that was kind of where we were like, okay, well, what if we built an association that really wasn't owned by anybody, but it was governed and stewarded by all the main stakeholders within the ecosystem? And we started off partnering with Evolute 6, who does governance structures like the Fair Share Commons. If you're familiar with the Fair Share Commons, which is basically helping to create closed commons organization for folks, and doing that within DAOs, doing that within an LLC or whatever type of business model and structure, but really getting the governance right so that your legal structure actually helps you to build an organization that's multi-capital oriented and multi-stakeholder oriented, that it involves all capitals and involves all stakeholders and brings them to the table in a fair share commons way. So the name really is what it is, a fair share commons, right? So when we were partnering with Evolute 6, we were thinking, okay, we have this, we started building like a studio for regenerative growth professionals to come and help these businesses to grow. That was one part of it. And we have these governance structures. There's another part of it. And we have some incubation acceleration going on. What about now bringing in the right collaborative partners into this? And we brought in another partner, a tech partner, to see if we could build a platform ourselves, right? So we started playing around with different ways, and we did it fairly different than I've seen other tech companies do this. We really just started talking to everybody we possibly could and getting their feedback. And then from there, we said, what would you like to see in some of these platforms? And we created like a concept car, if you were to kind of put it into anything, of what the possibilities could be. It's not really there. It doesn't even have an engine. Doesn't have, it doesn't really function at all. It's just a front end look of what the possibilities could be. But we started to get some traction and people thinking, wow, maybe this is something. Let's see if we can build an association that would profit pool and be able to show reciprocity tracking and have all these different features. But the thing was, as we started talking to everybody, we started realizing that almost everything was built in for the technology side of things, but it was built by one person, another company, another organization, or it was only partially built by this one, but they were starting to work on it, or all of these different things. And so now what we're kind of realizing is why we joined helping to co-steward Coherence is the collaborative technology realm that's moving regenerative work forward right now is actually quite, you could tell it's going to be a market because there's so many people coming into it and they're excited. But what's really cool is that it's very collaborative, right? it's very much people are trying to open up and talk, but it's still very hard because there's so many past. You said it yourself, like going through the Silicon Valley realm of the world, where you're going through VCs and you're talking to it changes the dynamic of everything, and it's really hard to come into a place where you can create something together when the dynamic is competition or cooperation, even within a collaborative technology space where we're trying to build more collaborative things. So that gives, I guess, more context into what we're working on here. Probably not even enough because we just are just barely starting to get to understand each other's organizations. But what I would like to kind of see and maybe bring the conversation to right now, depending on how much time we have as well, is what spaces would be one of the biggest things that we'd like to collaborate with Hylo on, for example, is we're one of the technologies that we're not seeing there is like reciprocity tracking, or being able to see and having an understanding of how, when we're collaborating, what's the exchanges that are happening, not to track them in a way that we're trying to put a value on every single little thing that's going through. That's just not reciprocity in its nature, right? But to really see more transparency in what collaboration looks like. And that's what we're trying to build for as far as reciprocity tracking. That's a really difficult thing that we're trying to understand. We have some built-in, like, how do we share projects with one another and then show the work that's being built on. That's some of the technology that we're building towards. And I'm curious to know if that's something that Hylo is interested in, or if there's, because that's something that we're actively trying to build on the technology side, because that's where we see a possibility for us to build technology for that's not there. But how and if that's something that maybe we can work together on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely something I'm interested in. There's a number of different ways or types of thinking about tracking the flow of value or of contribution, and we're intrigued by many of them. I mean, like I said, we are going to be adding the ability for actual money to flow across the platform. And I think an interesting thing, I mean, we're all about kind of transparency and making visible what's happening in the ecosystem. And so if people or organizations wanted to make visible that money is flowing from, this organization to that one for this work, or even from this person to this organization, like, I think that's really interesting to actually just show that right in the platform itself. Kind of like Open Collective creates this transparent, budgeting and donation system for a group. It's like we could even just integrate with Open Collective for some part of that. And we've talked to them about that. So that's, actually showing the flow of money is interesting. Then there's kind of like, this person supported me and I want to honor them for that. And so we have requests and offers in the platform. We've definitely thought about adding a kind of, this person was the person who completed my request. I'm going to give them a kudos, or whatever, 10 credits or some sort of system of tracking thank yous and reciprocity in that way. And so there could be an internal point system that's not a currency, but is just a way of showing like who is contributing. And that could potentially be used in different ways, and different groups could have their own system of kind of metric or tracking of contribution. So that's also really interesting. There's also badges, which we do have, and we are starting to use more in our groups. So we are starting to add badges for like the people who have contributed code to Hylo, or have contributed money to Hylo, or quality assurance testing. So that's already something you can do that we're starting to use more. But yeah, I'd be curious to know more of like what you're wanting. And the other cool thing about Hylo is it's open source, right? So we do have open source contributors, and we would love to have more teams come in and just say, we want to build out this functionality. We're going to do it, and then we can integrate it in. and it becomes available for everyone on the platform. And we also have APIs, which are kind of early days, but you can use them to, it integrates with Zapier. You can set up all kinds of different integrations through Zapier already, where when a post is created, it can do something, or when a Google form is filled out, it creates a post, or when a new member joins a group, it flows their information into an Airtable. Like, all of that is possible. And so there's some experiments we could start to do already just with that.
Cool. Yeah. So some of the, and I'm not sure if you remember that we had a conversation kind of walking through a demo of our front end look that we were trying to build out. And one of the things that we're hoping that we can really create is, to give you a little bit of context of what's happening right now with our projects, is we're building a experimental incubator accelerator container, and it's more like it's a container to help figure out what needs to be incubated and accelerated for an ecosystem. So we're calling it an ecosystem incubator, or ecosystem nursery is the term that we're using now. And this nursery essentially is taking not just one business or two or three or a group, just individual businesses, but we're taking communities, or what we would call ecosystem propagators, that are already gathering. So they usually have their own communities. So and so it's like a incubator filled with a bunch of communities, and we're having them correlate and operate together and find ways that they can collaborate and find interoperability with one another. An example of this is like we just brought on, or we're bringing on a network called the Watershed Unity Network 1, and they are gathering ecosystems around the different watersheds. So in your area, the watershed is the kind of Sierra Nevada mountains, and kind of coming through into different areas, there's one group there. There's several other watersheds. How does this one? We're talking with Eliza, who's founding this organization that's collectively building these ecosystems, these watershed unity networks out, and then she's partnering with 2 or 3 other communities that are more bioregional, but still gathering several bioregions, and they're now talking between each other. How do we build networks together, right? And so we're incubating through like a year-long incubation process that has 6 seasons in it. So we're doing like 2-month seasons through this process to really understand the stakeholders that are in this ecosystem, the different capital flows that are in the ecosystem. And so there's a lot of different dynamics that are happening that we're needing to see, like how reciprocity is being shared between the ecosystems. Are you guys sharing in platform together? Are you guys sharing networks together? Are you sharing capital together, like financial capital together? Those types of things, right? And so part of what we're trying to build on the technology side is a multi-capital understanding of like and like ledger almost of like, okay, this organization or these organizations together are actually doing a lot of work together, and we can actually see all of that work happening transparently, and we can see the value exchanges. We're not actually putting a value on them or trying to put a value on, because we feel like that will ruin the reciprocity of what's happening there. But we're really just trying to see what's happening and build that transparency in. And that is where we're coming up with like kind of a tokenization, but we're not necessarily using it as like a way to buy and barter things, right? It's more just like to see what's going on. We're calling it Hive Honey, is what we're trying to build from that. So people can build more Hive Honey as they collaborate, as they do certain things, and there's an algorithm that kind of shows your reciprocity outcomes and how that's working. within groups, within individuals, within collective groups of groups, right? And that's something that we're trying to build out, but it's something that we know we can't do alone, and that we would rather build something that's very interoperable between other platforms, so that we can actually see that value exchange go across not just our platform, but other platforms as well, and be able to see that. So that's something that I'm just being very, I'm just trying to keep it open and creative and see what possibilities might lie there. But I'll kind of check there and just maybe get your thoughts on that.
Just noting, I will need to leave in a little less than 10 minutes because I need a few more minutes before my next call. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of exactly what I was talking about, like having a way to track in the relationships within the ecosystem, like what types of value flow are happening. And I think that's great, and would love to see something like that implemented in Hylo. I do want to mention here, because we haven't talked too much about it yet, but the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which has been a kind of attempt to do something similar to what you're talking about. When we took on Hylo in 2020, the Collaborative Technology Alliance already had existed in a previous realm with Hylo and had kind of petered out, but it basically was, and then I rebooted it into an attempt to bring together other technologists who are working on similar platforms, similar ideas, and figure out how to interoperate and collaborate better. It's been through many cycles of ups and downs of energy, and or not. Right now it's in kind of a low power, less energy mode, because it is really hard to collaborate, especially when we're trying to do things differently. And I will say that one of the biggest challenges I find is that a lot of the projects in this space are underfunded because technology is expensive, and when you're not doing a traditional VC, there's like philanthropy, foundations, other sources of funding are either don't understand technology, or there just isn't as big amounts available. There's more competition for them, and so I think that's one of the big challenges. And I think maybe having something like Hive Honey where you are tracking the support, we never had a concrete kind of tracking of support and reciprocity and value flow in that way within the CTA, and maybe that would help kind of weave things tighter. Or so yeah, I just wanted to make sure the CTA was named in this space as like and sort of name some of those challenges, and would love to see how the CTA can play with ecosystem work you're doing and with Coherence 2025, and maybe we can be an official partner in some form if that's something you're thinking about. Because very much, there's very aligned goals there. Oh, and I did want to mention a project that has come out of the CTA that relates to some of what you're talking about. We're going to be doing a reveal or demo of in the next couple of weeks. Is this dynamic interoperable ecosystem map, we're calling it. And it's using the murmurations protocol, and it's a way to have an aggregated kind of map of all the projects and people working on this stuff that's not in a static Airtable maintained by a couple people. It easily gets out of date, but it's actually maintained by each project maintaining their own profile, and then having all that information be kind of aggregated and displayed in however people want, but in this interoperable kind of way where each project is maintaining their profile. And the next step of that we've talked about is adding asks and offers. So once we have this map of organizations, then how can these kind of asks and offers and potentially the reciprocal flow of could be some kind of credit or currency or token be tracked and made visible across this kind of interoperable web of projects coming from different platforms and different places.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I think that is really a good start to where we can start building that interoperability is with the profile and then with the needs and offers. And then one thing that I was with organizations and collaborative work. We're trying to share and build transparency within projects, and we're using OKR systems or a derivative of OKRs and making that visible to everybody. So MOKRs, mission, objective, key results, and having all the MOKRs be trackable and viewed organizational. So we could do what's a shared organizational profile now, or shared group of groups profile, right? Yeah, so it's definitely something that I've been excited to, and then you recently sharing that in the last CTA meeting. Looking forward to seeing where that can lie. Let's definitely, I know you have to hop off here in a couple moments. Let's definitely figure out ways that we can do some of the low-hanging fruits collaboration, which is kind of this media stuff right now, where we're just having conversations and sharing it with others. And within the CTA, I would love to find a time to host a conversation between CTA and Coherence 2025, and just kind of do like, okay, let's get this out to the world and on YouTube and share it with all the different collaborative folks in this space, and see ways that we can have more and more conversations come into Coherence 2025 through what CTA has been doing. We've already had I had a conversation with Ollie from the Murmurations Project, and that was a really good, fun one to chat with him. That will be posted on the Coherence 2025 website, which is coherence.tv. And then there's a YouTube channel called Coherence 2025. For those that are listening, they can also go check that out as well. So Tibet, thanks for just keeping this conversational and like let's diving into each other's stuff. It was fun. Thanks for experimenting with this, because it is very emergent, and we're just kind of working through this as conversations come up. So this has been a pleasure, and looking forward to having you join us for Coherence 2025 this year.
Totally, me too. Yeah, super excited. Good chat, and more soon for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Ciao.
Thank you. Adios.
So just if you can, just maybe a couple thoughts on how you thought it went, and what you liked, what's maybe we could, any feedback at all is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, super easy, fun, flowing conversation. I think it could help me. I think it would have helped me a little, and could help other people to have like a couple prompts or questions sent ahead of time that people can think about and just know, okay, I'm gonna share this. I mean, I don't think I needed it, but I know that can be helpful, and yeah, that's kind of the only thing I would think of. And what else? I mean, I guess, for me, it's super interesting. I think it was good to like have the back and forth and hear like about RegenBEE and all the things you're doing. I guess one of my questions for you is, in all these conversations going forward, thinking about how much you want to repeat about Coherence and about RegenBEE and about, the ecosystem stuff, and how much you don't want to. Like, is it something that you want to kind of weave into every conversation, or like try and have like different parts of it come out in different conversations? That's, I think, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. So this is my third conversation, and it's been interesting. It's very interesting to kind of see, because it has been very conversational. We've tried to give, I gave more in this one about Coherence 2025 because it was newer to you than anybody else that I had talked to.
Yeah.
So there was probably more of Coherence. I think maybe that's kind of how it will go, is if I can prep people more on it, or if they're already more engaged with Coherence, I'll probably say less about Coherence 2025 and just kind of be like, hey, go look at some of the other, things to interviews. And as we get more, I can kind of reference more as well within the ecosystem. I think there's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be really hard because there's also, I'm only one of, I think, 8 really active folks that are actually doing other interviews as well. And so each person's doing at least 3 as part of a co-stewarding. You have to do at least 3 interviews. So if you wanted to be a co-steward, you're more than welcome to be co-stewarding. You have to do, I think it's an hour or 2 hours a week or something within organization. It could be your interviews, right? So if you're just interviewing and you're adding to the content, that could be your thing, right? But then you have to also commit to 3 pieces of content that you're bringing to the table. And basically the way I'm looking at it is like, who do you want to work with, right? Go invite them to a conversation and say, hey, we're going to add this to Coherence, right? And that's what I'm doing. So I have 10 people that I've kind of earmarked, and then there's people that are coming up as well. You were one of them. And yeah, so I'm going through that list and then seeing where it kind of ends up after that. If I want to do any more than that, then I will. But yeah, so if you want to be a steward, you would already be creating one piece of content if we were to do the CTA thing, right? That could be another piece of it.
Very cool. Okay, well, let's follow up. Yeah, I do got to jump off, but yeah, touch base shortly.
All right, man. It was good to chat with you.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.
The recording has